All right, let's get right into it. Welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive shift that is happening right under our noses in how search engines and AI assistants actually operate. For decades, the entire internet has basically run on a pretty fundamental system of text matching. You type in a word, the engine finds pages with that exact word. Simple, right? Well, we are officially moving away from that basic text matching model and moving toward genuine concept understanding. And honestly, it changes absolutely everything about how you need to build an online presence.
Look, search engines don't just read your content anymore. They actively try to understand who you actually are. And this is a pretty jarring reality for a lot of digital marketers right now. If you've been doing everything right with your traditional keywords, hitting your density targets, checking all the usual boxes, but you're suddenly losing effectiveness or just feeling completely invisible, well, this is exactly why. You're playing the old game of text matching, while the engines have completely moved on to understanding identities.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at moving beyond just keywords. Then, we'll break down what a search entity actually is. Third, we'll compare keywords versus entity search. After that, we'll cover building your own search entity, and finally, we'll wrap up with optimizing for AI search.
Okay, part 1. Beyond just keywords and into the new search era.
Back in the day, keyword stuffing and chasing a few backlinks were literally all you needed to get Google to notice you. But search engines and, more recently, AI assistants have quietly changed how they decide which brands to trust, recommend, and ultimately cite. There's a direct quote from our source material that I really want to highlight because it directly impacts your bottom line. It says, if your brand isn't a recognized entity, you're invisible to that layer of search, no matter how well your pages rank in traditional results. Think about how people search today. We're all using AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity. And here's the kicker. These assistants don't just pull up high-ranking pages with the right keywords. They retrieve verified facts based on known entities. Basically, if you aren't an entity, the AI simply cannot confidently recommend you.
Moving right along to section 2. What exactly is a search entity?
So what is actually replacing the keyword? Well, an entity is a distinct, well-defined thing that a search engine understands and stores in its knowledge base. And this is entirely separate from any single keyword or web page. An entity can be a person, a brand, a product, or even a place. In fact, since 2012, Google has been actively storing these recognized concepts in its knowledge graph. And once you're in there, engines can just pull facts about you into answer panels and summaries, completely regardless of whether you rank for a specific string of keywords.
Think about it like this. A keyword is just a string of text. It's totally literal. But an entity? An entity is a complete concept with deep, interconnected attributes. It has a specific name, it belongs to a defined category, it has mapped relationships to other entities, and it comes with a whole set of verified facts. It's essentially the difference between a machine just seeing the letters CRM on a web page and a machine actually understanding what a customer relationship management software product is, how much it usually costs, and exactly who its competitors are.
Which brings us to section 3, keywords versus entity search, and why this shift matters.
Now, this is where the real aha moment happens for most people. Keyword-based search relies heavily on exact or partial text matches. That's the primary signal. But entity-based search, that relies on recognized concepts and relationships. And think about the ultimate brand outcome here. With old-school keywords, your absolute best outcome is just a ranking position on a page. But with entity search, the outcome is genuine recognition, citation, and trust by massive AI models. Now, neither model entirely replaces the other, but Entity SEO adds this massive layer of credibility that keywords alone just cannot touch.
So you're probably wondering, how does search engines actually confirm you exist in the real world? Well, they look for proof across a few core building blocks. Engines require absolute consistency and corroboration across multiple independent sources before they trust you. You've got to have structured data, often called Schema Markup, which basically hands search engines a machine-readable fact sheet about your business. You need topical authority to prove your depth of expertise. You need organic brand mentions from independent publications. You need really strong EEAT signals. That's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And crucially, you need consistent NAP data. That stands for name, address, and phone number, and it has to be identical across all your platforms. Even slight mismatches can create doubt for the algorithm.
All right, let's move to part 4, building your search entity step by step.
Now that we understand the mechanics behind what an entity is, let's shift from theory to actual practice. Here are the 5 critical phases you need in your playbook to turn your brand into a recognized search entity. Step 1. Lock down a hyper-consistent brand identity everywhere online. Literally, no more using slightly different agency names on your website versus your LinkedIn. Step 2. Implement organization schema markup so the machines don't have to guess who you are, you're just telling them directly. Step 3. Build genuine topical authority by publishing clustered, in-depth content. Step 4. Go out and earn independent mentions and citations from third-party trade press or trusted directories. And finally, Step 5. Continually monitor and correct any inconsistencies that pop up. Now, a lot of folks ask about getting a Google Knowledge Panel. The reality is, a knowledge panel isn't something you can just force, it's a natural byproduct of doing these 5 steps consistently over a long period of time.
And finally, Section 5, Optimizing for AI Search.
Stepping into the actual future of search, Answer Engine Optimization, or AEO, and Generative Engine Optimization are the new frontiers. The most crucial point to remember here is this. AI assistants like Gemini or Perplexity do not just return a list of 10 blue links for users to scroll through. They synthesize answers by citing a very small number of entities that they trust the absolute most. To optimize for this new reality, you really have to write direct answers to specific questions. You've got to keep your factual claims strictly consistent because AI systems constantly cross-check for reliability. Use super clear, structured headings, maintain that schema markup we talked about, and above all, publish genuine, hardcore expertise rather than just surface-level fluff.
To really wrap our heads around this, picture 2 competing marketing agencies. Agency A is still doing what worked great back in 2015. They chase high-volume keywords, sure, but their branding is incredibly inconsistent across platforms, and they have basically 0 third-party mentions corroborating who they even are. Now, Agency B, they might publish the exact same quality of content, but they have standardized their brand name everywhere. They use organization schema markup on their site, they actively earn unlinked industry mentions, and their local business profiles are 100% accurate. So, when a user asks an AI assistant for the absolute best agency in that space, Agency B is the one that gets confidently recommended. Why? Because Agency B is acting like a real, verified entity, while Agency A just looks like a scattered collection of keywords.
And that brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you from this explainer. The landscape has profoundly shifted. Search is no longer just about what you say on your web page, it's entirely about whether the system trusts the identity behind that page. So you really need to ask yourself, when someone asks an AI for the best in your specific industry, will that AI even know you exist? It's time to start building your entity signals today. Standardize your data and make absolutely sure the answer to that question is a resounding yes. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.